Okay, let's take a quick look at procurement and some of the other areas that affect our travel and different procedures. So procurement rules are set forth by the Department of Education and the state's Auditor General's office. So the biggest point, if you take anything out of today, that there has to be a requisition and PO created before you make the purchase. So we do recommend small open POs, $25, $50 for emergencies. Something happens on the weekend and you have to go buy something. We recommend you do a small reimbursement PO to yourself. And we ask you to use approved vendors whenever possible. And if the vendor doesn't take a PO, we do reimbursements on a very limited basis that you would clear through the business office. So again, I think people get a little bit confused about the purchasing process and that the state's goals are always to save districts money. It's to promote competition, but it's not always saving money. So we have to follow the procedures for POs and making sure that we document those expenditures before anybody goes out and makes a purchase on their own. Also, all orders must be delivered to the warehouse. That's how the warehouse delivery process is what triggers accounts payable to pay the bill. So we do have exceptions if it's a large or heavy delivery furniture, something very large that can be delivered, drop shipped to the school. And also another exception is if you pick up items such as Sam's Club, Walmart, etc. But just make sure you turn in those receipts quickly, because I know you've all experienced this and we get frustrated by it too, because we get put on hold because we have receipts out there that we don't know about from open POs. So please get them to us so we can get things turned around quickly. We get checks twice a week from the county. We don't even print our own checks here. We're under a different program with Maricopa County, as a lot of smaller or medium school districts are, and we're considered one of those. So we have to send our checks to be processed through Maricopa County, and they're delivered twice a week. So it's not a real quick process all the time. Also, reimbursements, you must have a PO to yourself already approved prior to the purchase. These are more for travel type things. Hey, I'm going to a conference, I open a PO to myself to pay for airfare or hotels or food. And we can do some of the hotels and things like that up front for you through a PO process, so you don't have to put that on your credit card. You can do it either way, but you just have to have the PO set up ahead of time. You need original itemized receipts when you turn those in. And again, use approved vendors whenever possible when they accept POs. Just an update on the InTouch bookstore program. As some of you know that have been around for several years, we moved from the ABC bookstore program to InTouch. InTouch offers a lot more technology ability to do some different things with credit cards and with promoting donations and those types of things. And so in 22-23, we kind of modified this process to be Envisions. And then in 23-24, we aligned all the account codes to go across the district, similar for each school site, so that it was easier to track and information was easier to exchange. And then for next year, or this current year, school year we're going into, we did purchase new credit card readers. These are much more reliable. We have much less rejected expenditures when people are trying to run cards through. And then we're implementing more club pages to raise money through InTouch without having to go through GoFundMe and those types of things. So to reach out to us at the business office, we can set some of these up. I know several organizations and clubs have already done this, and then people can raise money directly through this website. We give them either a link or a QTR code, and they can donate directly for family and other community members. This requisition is kind of busy, but kind of shows you the different things you need to include when you're submitting that to your sites, to your site bookstore people and your admin. We want you to pay particular attention to the bottom right. If you have something that needs to be rushed, we hopefully don't have that many, but when we do, if you'll document when you need something by, we can prioritize that when it comes to the district. So basically on that side of processing checks, we have one person that's handling all 3 school sites plus the learning center. So the better you can prepare for us, the better we can turn things around timely for you. So please let us know when you need things quicker that don't go through the normal process. Fundraisers must be approved by site administration. You have to identify what the money is being raised for and then communicate that to the donors, and so that they're aware of what they're donating their money for. If it's for multiple clubs, then the money can be split between the clubs. So you're welcome to do that with other clubs. We just have to identify how the money's going to be split so all the organizations get what they're supposed to get. We encourage tax credit contributions to help our donors and taxpayers because they can get that directly refunded on their state taxes. All funds must be deposited and requisitioned for expenditure. So if you collect money, if you have a cash type operation and you're collecting money, that money has to be deposited with your bookstore person at your school site and then requisitioned back out. You cannot take cash and use that to purchase things directly. That is not allowed, and that is also one of the fraudulent things the state has asked us to look for. Turn in money quickly to the bookstore. We have these items here of trunks of cars, file cabinets, desk drawers. All of these have been sites of thefts over the years where money's disappeared. So please, we have the safe and things, safekeeping for your money at the bookstore. So please take it to your bookstore person at your school site. And InTouch also has a web store attached to the program where you can do fundraising, as I mentioned. You can do athletic apparel sales or club sales for t-shirts and that sort of thing to the community. So we're trying to expand that process. So contact us if that's something you're interested in, and we'll help you build that page if we can. Booster clubs is another thing that's starting to grow as our schools get bigger and more involved. It's very important that we work together with booster clubs, but they are a separate entity from the school district. So we're not allowed to mingle any funds between that. So a true booster club has a 501c3 or the like. They're an independent agency. Like I said, we cannot mingle money, so auxiliary club money with booster clubs. And the school district, school or district has no control over how booster clubs can be spent. Again, we work together with the partnership, but they're an independent entity. And so if a fundraiser is being done by a booster club and students are involved in that fundraising, the student club must get the percentage of proceeds equal to the work that they put in. It's not an exact science, best guess, but if kids are doing 50% of the work, they should be getting 50% of the money if that's the case. If it's all adults in the or other booster club members, all the money can go to the booster club. They only have to split it if there's kids involved. And then the biggest one that's coming through now is that there's no district staff or coaches that can be officers of the booster club. You can work with them, but you cannot be the booster club. It's an independent agency separate from the district or any of the other funding opportunities that our students have. So you can't be mixed on both of those. So we've got procedures on the website now, and contact your AD if you have questions about booster clubs, and we can work through that. Food and candy fundraisers, this is an ADE requirement, not necessarily a Chartwell's requirement. But because we're part of the National Breakfast and School Lunch Program, those fundraisers must be done 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after school, not during school hours. We can't do it during breakfast or lunch. Again, it's a federal requirement. And we do have a non-compete clause with Chartwell's, but they've been pretty lenient with that and allowed us to do some fundraising. We do have an exception on school-wide, like the Jamba Juice and Kona Ice things that we can get limited approval from ADE to do those. If a student council or club wants to do those, but it's very limited as it takes away from the lunch program for the federal requirements. And this does include vending machines. So if you have vending machines on campus, those should be locked up during lunchtime or timers or something where students are not purchasing from those. Other important info, auxiliary and club forms are located on the district's website. If you go under the business services section of the website, you'll find most of the forms you'll need. We do not allow gift card purchases with auxiliary or club funds. The IRS sees these as a form of payment when we give them to volunteers, and that's what we normally run into. Hey, this person's done a lot for our organization we'd like to reward them for the efforts they've made over the season, but that's seen as a form of payment, and we don't want to get down that road. And they are treated the same as cash in regards to safeguards because they are basically cash, so they must be safeguarded at all times, locked up in the event that you have any. And so those things have to be identified and signed out when you give them to somebody. Please work through your site bookstore person and AD with questions. Like I said, we have one staff member here at the district office that specifically deals with auxiliary activity and tax credit accounts. And so that's a lot when everybody's contacting her directly and she's trying to get things turned around and payments made. So please work through your site folks first, and then we can involve us as much as we need. But hopefully some of these can be answered through the site level. And then club funds require meeting minutes with the requisitions. The students raise the money and they decide how it's expended, so they have to vote on that. and you may get, as a sponsor, you may get information back in an email saying, hey, we need better minutes or more information on these minutes to allow this expenditure to happen, because it maybe hasn't been fully identified in the paperwork. So please be aware of that, and we can work with you on that one. Procurement, there's very specific rules regarding the utilization of auxiliary and student fund money. So we have more information in a packet that you will receive and that we'll post. The prices are rising for everything, but the quote and bid thresholds have not changed through the state. They're still 10,000 district-wide for quoting. And so it doesn't take very long to get there to $10,000 with the vendor anymore, especially with 3 schools purchasing. So please be aware of that, and it might slow down your process. And then that's why we suggest that you use vendors that have been through a procurement process like Mojave or State Contract or 1GPA. We can use those vendors, and we don't have to worry about the bidding with those or the quoting because they've already gone through a process. So that's an idea. Maybe not always the cheapest, but it will get your product here quicker with the paperwork process. And then plan ahead for supply line delays and delivery challenges. That's been a little bit better in recent year. But still, there's, especially technology equipment has pretty long lead times. Facility or field alterations, BUHSD will continue, and we have to provide equal facilities at each of our comprehensive high school sites. If you want to make an alteration to a field, you need to contact your AD, who will work through district maintenance. There's funding source and availability issues. There's electrical power and IT drops in some cases that we don't have in that area that are needed for the alteration you want to make. We want to make sure we're having the equity between genders and we don't inadvertently create an issue there. And then the long-term maintenance and support costs, a lot of these items sound like they'll be very good, but you got to make sure you understand what year 2, 3, 4, and 5 look like when you're making changes or buying some type of software to do something. And then just basically the scheduling of it, trying to make sure that we have staff members on site that do electrical and mechanical and some of those things, but we got to schedule those people because they're being pulled multiple directions. Transportation, district vehicles are monitored by GPS software, so please be aware of that. Any student vehicles, any vehicles that have students potentially traveling in them will have video and audio monitoring, so make sure you understand that your conversations are not private when you're in those vehicles. We don't go around and listen to them, but if there's a question, we can go back and pull that video. So please be aware of that. And when a bus is moving, we need the student riders on the white fleets and the yellow buses to be seated facing forward with both feet on the floor. I know this is a difficult request on our long trips to some of the high schools that we go to here in the state, but the buses will protect staff and students that are seated properly. But if we're laying on the floor or laying across the seats, the bus can be a very dangerous place, and we have some injuries potentially from that. So please be aware of that and make sure you address that with your teams when you're traveling. Student injuries, please report student and staff injuries to your administrative teams on your campuses. If it's a staff member, we have workers' comp contact Alliance. With your question there, and there's the phone number with your supervisor. They have nurses on staff that can help evaluate and determine. Obviously, if it's an emergency, call 911, but bumps, bruises, that sort of thing, or something that's not as critical, we can work through that. For students, complete the student incident injury report with the nurse and health aide staff on your campus. Have those documents. Within a few hours, take some notes of the incident details, especially if it's something that's a little more serious that you think you might have parent concern with. Collect any witness statements if necessary. Again, the sooner the better while it's fresh on everybody's mind. And then we also ask you don't to comment to parents about medical bills or anything, how anything will be handled. We have an insurance company for that, and they actually don't want us to say anything. They will handle all that. You could just say, hey, we're going to turn this over to the district and it'll go to our insurance company. And then again, contact your administration and make sure they know and are aware of the situation. One of the things we'll ask you to sign off on at the end of this video is the credit card policy. It basically says, this is right out of the governing board policy for the school district that says how you can use credit cards, that you won't use those for your own financial gain, that you'll keep those protected when they're in your possession. You make sure you have a requisition before you, or an PO before you purchase, all those things, and the limits of what those purchases can be made for. So we'll ask you to sign off on that form. And then the final step, this is the actual policy. It's pretty limited, but as far as what it says in it, but it's just making sure that we don't have fraudulent activity happening with credit cards, because it's an easy thing for things to get out of hand. And then finally, we just ask that you sign off on this, that we had this presentation, and that you're aware of these procedures that we're working through. We'll provide a copy of this presentation. We'll post it for you so you'll have it. But again, welcome to the 24-25 school year, and we'll see you out on campus. Thanks so much.